What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another tips and tricks. I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for more stuff for killers, and I had to do this video because a lot of people don't understand what moonwalking is, what window look is, window juke, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of tips that I think that can help you guys out. Just let you guys know that if you guys want more videos like this, then drop a like. It does help out the channel. You have no idea how much that really does. So in this video, I'm going to give you top 10 killer tips that I think it's worth knowing for any new beginners to come in the game. Any new beginner will understand when you play killer. It might be quite easy at first, but once you get into the mid ranks and red ranks, the game becomes a little bit more difficult. So hopefully these tips help out for beginners. There might be a tip in here for you veterans that you probably didn't know about. Big shout outs to my boy Gypsy Owl, who helped me out with some of the gameplay. So, he was the one that helped me out. I just want to give him a shout out. If not, he's probably going to chew me out. But yeah, he sucks as killer, but I still love him in the same way. But yeah, here we go. At number 1, we're going to talk about the moonwalk. What is moonwalking? We're not talking about the Michael Jackson moonwalk. Moonwalk is a way to hide your red stain. What is the red stain? The red stain is something what a killer has when he's projecting, he's looking at you. A lot of high rank and mid rank people use this as when the killer is chasing you. Once you get into the mid ranks and the red ranks, it's going to become way harder for you to understand where the killer is if you can't see his red stain. In certain areas you can moonwalk, and then there's some that you can't. So I'm not saying you to be a papega and just start doing moonwalks everywhere. It's not going to work out like that. You need to find a perfect area where you know for a fact it's going to hide your red stain. Moonwalk is a technique that a lot of people depend on if you're playing in the mid ranks and high ranks. It's just a nice way to hide your stain, your red stain. You could catch a survivor off guard because the red stain does help out the survivors a lot. This does take a while to practice because eventually you are going to do it at areas that just make no sense. I've seen killers do moonwalks to areas where I can see the red stain. And I do know that a lot of you guys do play on controller. So it's going to be harder on controller, but it's you can still do it. But honestly, just take your time with it. I've seen people do it with the controller. It is a little bit harder, but hey, that's the price you pay for playing on the console or using a controller. That's why I always say it's the best way to play any games is keyboard and mouse. At number 2, we're going to be talking about the window look / juke. Now, you do this to keep the survivor at that area. I love doing this move so much because it catches the survivor off guard a lot of times, especially if you have a perk called Bamboozled. It's like the perfect way to do it. This perk, if you have it, perfect time to do window juke. You can still do the window juke without Bamboozled, but it's better with it. So yeah, practice with the window jukes. Again, it works at most of all the windows. There's not a window that I think it doesn't work. Well, there's some areas that it doesn't make sense to do the window juke. Again, you're gonna have to practice when to do this and when not to do this. A quick bonus for the window juke, you can also do this with pallets. I do this a lot with my Leatherface, where I rev my chainsaw and I'm looking at a direction and then I go back to the pallet and break it. So you could do the window juke also at pallets as well. That's just a little bonus that you can do that to keep them outside of the map. At number 3, I'm talking about something that a lot of you killers are gonna have to understand. You're gonna have to drop a chase. What is dropping chase? What does that mean, Jay? Well, you ever had an area where you just cannot catch a survivor, such as Haddonfield or a Macmillan map where there's just a window they can basically infinite you all day. As you can see right here, I'm chasing Gypsy at one of the most broken maps in the game for any killer. Honestly, there's no killer that's good on this map. Maybe Trapper, if you know how to place your traps. But honestly, there's just no way you're going to catch a survivor unless you're in the nurse. Maybe Spirit. But either way, all killers have a trouble time on certain maps. Not all the maps are going to be perfect for you. There's not one killer, or not even a nurse, that can benefit on all the maps, because there's none. The game was designed for survivors to survive at any cost. So as you can see right now, this loop is forever. If this ever happens, you need to drop the chase. What's the benefit of dropping a chase, Jay? Well, when you drop this chase, you're like, oh, you know what? Fuck this survivor. I don't give a shit. I'm going to go do something else, because not only hooking the survivor is your objective, you can go at a gen. You could look at chests. Look at chests and totems. If you see that they were cleansed, maybe somebody was there. If you have a perk called Whispers, you can go to an area to find out where they're at. Dropping a chase has always helped me out, guys, because I'm like, you know what? This person's a shit player. They know that they're abusing an area. They know they can't win without it. That's fine. I'll catch them later. You know how many times where I've dropped a chase such as this to go get somebody else, and eventually I catch that dude in the end. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes those fuckers have an instant heal, as you can see right now, and sometimes they have a key where they just escape, and there's nothing you can do. This game is a survivor game. Once you know that, once you get that to your head, you're the underdog. Low ranks still think that this is a killer game. Let them say that all they want. Because once you go to the red ranks and once you face good survivors or survivor friends, even a decent survivor friends can make your day just really tough. So that's why I always say there's a time and place when to drop a chase, because while you're chasing, as you can tell, as you see, it takes a long time. At certain maps, they're just broken areas. It's okay to drop a chase. My rule is 30 seconds to 40 seconds. If I can't catch them, fuck them. I'm going somewhere else because a gen's about to pop. Somebody's on a gen, somebody's looting a chest, somebody's doing a totem. I can catch them, put them on a hook, and guess what? That person that was using an infinite is going to the hook. Now I got your ass. Remember, it's not always bad to drop a chase. At number 4, we are talking about the 3 gen rule. Survivors need to turn on 5 gens to power the door so that they can open and get out. So when you have 3 gens to protect, it makes it harder for survivors. Why? Because the 3 gens are really close to each other. So when you do that, it makes it harder for the survivors, and you can keep an eye on the survivors on 1 gen, and you can also do a chase at 1 area. Now, there's a time and place to do the 3 gen. Some people actually put that as number 1. Like, that's the number 1 thing you want to do. You find 3 gens, you're like, okay, I'm going to protect this and this and that. There are certain killers actually benefit from this. Trapper, Hag, Spirit, Nurse, Billy. Billy's actually one of the best ones for that because he can get a point A to point B faster. The 3 gen rule, I only do it at certain times. When I know for a fact that I'm losing, like say for instance, 2 gens pop, I'm like, okay, I need to find 3 gens, that one, that one, that one. I'm protecting these 3 gens. When you do a 3 gen, sometimes you're gonna have to drop a chase because the person you're chasing obviously knows that they 3 gen themselves. They're gonna take you far, far, far away, and you're basically gonna screw yourself, and then they're gonna start popping gens. Now there is certain maps. These 2 maps right here. I'm gonna put them on the screen. These 2 maps. You 100% have to play a 3 gen rule. If you don't, you will lose because I call these the football field maps. Why are they football field maps? Because they're lengthy. They're not wide. They're lengthy. They're so long that there's like 3 gens on one side, there's 2 gens on the other side, and then there's like 1 or 2 gens in the middle. So you need to pick a side. Basically, I would say wherever your ruins at or wherever the basement's at, that's where you want a 3 gen. When you 3 gen somebody, it's going to make the game much easier for you. Again, these 2 maps, very unbalanced. Very unbalanced. Again, you'll notice a difference. Pick 3 gens. Practice at it. You know, like the first game you play, okay, I'm going to protect this gen, and that gen. At number 5, I'm going to say know your killer's weakness. Once you understand your killer's weakness, I feel like you can really benefit in the end because once you understand, like certain killers are just not good at gen protecting. Some killers are not good in chasing. Some killers are just not good at tracking. You're gonna need some perks. You're gonna need some add-ons. So know your killer's weakness. As for instance, the Nurse, one of the best killers on PC. What's her weakness? Not that much, but she does have a weakness, and that's in tracking. Once she hits you, she looks on the ground, and you can't find anybody. People with Iron Will or Quick and Quiet can lose a Nurse. And there's certain maps like the Cornfield, the Game from the Pig, and Haddonfield. Some killers are just not good at certain areas, like her. Tracking. But certain killers are just really bad at protecting gens, such as Myers. So you're going to want something to slow down the game. Ruin, Corrupt Intervention is another great one. Pop Goes a Weasel. I would say another downside to Myers is you can loop him as well. So right now Myers is considered mid-tier. You can run all types of things. I run Pop Goes a Weasel. It really does help me out near end of the game. Brutal Straight because people will go to loops and you do want to break that. Fire Up. Honestly, Fire Up is not great. I run it for more of as just me. It feels great when you get 4 stacks. Or 5 stacks. When you get 4 or 5 stacks, it feels great. And it helps me out in the end game because I feel like Myers is the only one that benefits from this because he has tier 3. And then near the end game, he's really, really fast. But you can also play to the end game. But remember, guys, play to your killer's weakness. What's the Spirit's weakness? Her biggest weakness is sound. If you can't hear the survivor, or if they have Quick and Quiet, you're not going to be able to hear them. So maybe run Strider. Experienced Spirit mains like such as myself, we don't need it, but I love having it on because it's just like a cherry on top. At number 6, know your build. Know what you're getting yourself into. Read the add-ons. I'm going to leave a link in the description where you don't need to log into the game to read them. You can go to this website where it's pretty damn well done. Whoever did it, kudos to them. But it tells you what the add-ons do, all the add-ons for all the killers and all the survivors. It tells you what their power is and stuff. Know your power. If you hit F1, you'll know their speed. Each killer has a speed on them. 4.6 is normal speed. 32 meters, that's what it means, the terror radius. So how big, they start hearing the heartbeat. And tall, I don't know why they put tall, but if you hover over this, you know your killer's power. If you scroll through them, you're going to see killers like who have normal speed and regular terror radius. But then you're also going to come to killers such as, let's see, as the nurse. Nurse is actually considered the slowest killer in the game, but that's only because she can teleport to areas, point A to point B faster. She does have a normal terror radius, but killers like Myers, who start off with 6, but once he starts leveling up, it tells you here, evil within 1, tremendously decreases the terror radius. This is a great example of the Plague. What's her biggest weakness? A lot of people in mid-rank and high rank, they don't heal against her because they don't want to give her power. Her best power is when you cleanse yourself and she gets the red vomit. If she gets that, she's very dangerous. So smart players, smart survivors, what they'll do is don't heal. So you're going to need something to help you out. As you can tell, we have a build right here that's going to help you out a lot. We have Thatophobia. People are going to not heal against her because that's where she's really strong at. Pop Goes a Weasel is really good on her, not only because now they buffed it to 60 seconds, but what do you do with her? You spit on gens, right? You're going to pop Goes a Weasel to a gen, and then you're going to spit on that. So you're doing like double the trouble on that. But also like perks like Corrupt Intervention, what is that going to do? 3 generators from the far distance is going to push people towards you. Most cocky survivors are just going to run out and open. You get your first chase right there. You can also run other things like Moderate Abuse, where you can get closer. You can get closer to them to, vomit on them if they're not vomit. You don't need surveillance, not much, because you can see on the bottom left if they are sick or not. If somebody is sick, that means they're on a gen. Perks like Nurse Calling does not help you out at whatsoever because, again, most times they're not going to heal. And if they are injured, they're just going to use the water. Like, it's just a perk that I recommend not using. Know your build, guys. Know a build that you know is going to benefit from your killer. Bloodhound. No point in running Bloodhound because most times they're going to vomit and you're going to see the vomit on the floor. You're going to see scratch marks. You're going to see the blood either way. At number 7, we are going to talk about when to camp. Now, I know people are going to get mad at me for saying that. There is a time and a place to camp. Now, I call it soft patrolling because it's not really camping. A camper is basically just standing there doing nothing. That does happen a lot. When to camp, I would say for a couple reasons. One, camp if you know that somebody's there. Say you saw scratch marks run towards the hook. That's when you're camping. Number 2, if the door is open and there's a hook right next to it, you're going to have to camp that because you're going to... Either way, you might lose that because they're going to come in and just, borrow time you and they get out. But camp when you know for sure somebody's there. You see scratch marks, you see blood, you see something. Do not camp to secure 1 kill because you actually get less points now and it just doesn't... It's not a fun game. Survivor friends go for unsafe hooks with borrowed time all the time. So I understand if you're going to camp. But just don't stand there and look like a dumbass. Like, basically, think of it as a job. There's always something to do, okay? I've learned that from my job experience. There's always something to do. Don't ever sit there and say, well, everything's done. No. Patrol. Go look at the lockers. Go look at around the rocks. Go look around pallets. Go break a pallet. Do something around that area. But don't get mad if somehow they, hit you with D-Strike. If you down them again. It's a 1-minute cooldown, so if that happens and you know they have D-Strike, then just leave them on the floor and go chase somebody else. But there's nothing you could do to make camping effectively. At number 8, understanding loops. All right, when you're playing as a killer and you're looping, make sure you're staying tight. This goes out to a shout out to Gypsy because Gypsy made a good point that if you're facing somebody that's looping you, stay tight, meaning don't go wide. It's so hard to say when to respect pallets or not. I would say I'm 80%. I don't respect pallets, and then 20% sometimes I do, depending, because I can always tell when they're gonna drop it. Like most Meg players, they always drop a pallet early. They always do it. I've never faced a good Meg in my life. Maybe one, maybe, but most times you can tell from a survivor if they know how to play or not. But yes, when you are in a loop, you have to understand where to go, which window to vault, when to push them inside the map to outside the map. Understand the loops, meaning that there's going to be T-walls, Z-walls. I'm not going to go through that because there's so much to that, and I'm trying to make this as short as I can as a video. But just know that you're going to have areas that are just, not a great loop for you, as we talked about in the Haddonfield, okay? That's when you're just going to have to drop the loop. If you know for a fact you cannot win this loop area, just let go of it and go to somebody else. Go to loops that you know you're going to benefit from, whatever killer you're playing. Pit can do mind games at some pallets. Clown can slow it down a little bit. Killers like the Nurse, Spirit, obviously just destroy you at loops. They're probably the best killers to at loop areas. But yeah, understand your loop and always stay tight, meaning that you want to hug the areas, hug the car, hug the hay, hug the wall. Stay tight, because if you go too wide, you're losing actually distance and speed. And number 9, when to break pallets. Now, this is very important because this can make or break you, as I'm about to show you right now. When you break a pallet outside of the map, which you need to do as a killer, you keep them outside of the map where there's an open field. You want to keep the survivor in the open field where they have nothing to run to. Look what happens when you break the pallet inside. When you break the pallet inside, they have multiple areas they go to. They go to another loop, they go to another pallet area, and you screwed yourself. If you break it outside, it's going to benefit from you, and you're going to make your job easier as a killer. That's very important. A lot of people don't understand that, when to break a pallet. Now, there is certain loops, as you see right now, that you can get them. These are called unsafe pallets. Unsafe pallets is where you know for a fact you can get a hit. You could down them at these areas. One of the good maps to explain this is the Doctor map. The Doctor map has a lot of areas where it's just not safe pallets. There's some a little bit, but there's areas where if you just mind game, go left, go right, go left, go right. It's like playing a little Tetris game. You gotta connect the dots. You gotta connect the little Tetris and make sure they align right, so when you swing, you don't miss. They can get away with it, but that's gonna be on you. You have to know when to break pallets, because once you have bloodlust is a thing where you get speed if you don't catch a survivor. It's kind of like their way to help out infinites at the moment, but try not to rely on bloodlust as much. But if you do have bloodlust and you don't want to break a pallet, that's fine. You're just wasting a little bit more time. It depends. Again, like I always say, it depends when to break the pallet. If you feel like you can get them with your bloodlust and you're just circling around forever, then go for it. But if that fails, again, break them outside the map. At number 10, we're going to be talking about the slug. What is the slug? When to slug. Now, they call this slugging because you're crawling, you're slow as a survivor, so they call it as slugging. Now, slugging is actually not a fun thing to do. Survivors hate it. Survivor mains hate it. So, like for instance, I'm going to show you a gameplay that I had with Leatherface. I let this person down because I know for a fact that these survivors are trying to finish this gen. This gen is at 90% done. So what do? I leave this person down. Why? For 2 reasons. 1, I want to protect that gen as much as possible and try to catch somebody off guard and down the next person so I can have 2 slugs. Second reason is because I know for a fact that this person is crawling for me for a reason. Why? She has D-strike. You can always tell if they have D-strikes if they are crawling towards you, if they're jumping the locker, or they are on the gen and they're not scared. That's just a little bonus tip if you know they have D-strike. When you notice a survivor has that, do not pick them up. Slug them more. So that's why I did a perfect slug right there. Even though they still got the gen, I waste a lot of their time. Because what would have happened if I picked that person up? I would have got D-strike. She would have left off. Adrenaline would have popped out earlier, like in the end of the game. And I would have got screwed over, and I probably would have not won. I ended up getting 3 kills in the end because of this slug play. Now, I'm not saying you to go out there and slug everybody at 5 or 4 gens. Hey, if you want to be an asshole, go for it. But again, there's a time and place to slug, because slugging, what that does, it benefits from them getting off the gens, totems, chests, and going to help their friends, their survivors, whatever, get back up and heal them. So you're wasting their time off the gens. I always say around 3 gens is where you need to start slugging a little bit. Or if, like, you know for a fact they have D-strike, or they have something that you know that it's going to slow down the game. If they have a key or instant med kit that you think they know, slug them. Waste their time. When you waste their time, they're not on gens. When they're not on gens, you have more time to chase other people. You have more time to set up whatever you're doing with traps or whatever. If you're playing hag or trapper or whatever, you're helping yourself out. But again, I'm not saying that you need to slug everybody, but there's a time and place when to slug, like the way I showed you in that gameplay. And hopefully you guys understand that. Slugging is not toxic. It's part of the game. Just as camping is. If you know for a fact somebody's right there, it's part of the game. Just know that you're going to get you're gonna get chewed out. All right, this is the bonus one, a bonus one. Let's talk about the God pallet. They call it a God pallet because you have to destroy it. If you destroy it, then it no longer is safe. The God pallet means the safest pallet. There's other areas that are considered the safest pallets in the game. But every time you go to the killer shack, just remember this. A bad survivor, they will drop the pallet at 5 to 4 gens. Around 3 gens is questionable. 2 to 1 or end game is perfect to keep the pallet up for the survivor. If you get hit with the pallet at 5 to 4 gens, yeah, consider yourself like lucky, because that shit does not come in the end game, and a lot of end games just ruin you if killer shack pallets there, because a survivor can loop you there the whole game while they're opening gens. While they're opening doors, and they're gonna body block and they're out because that pallet was there in the end game. Don't get upset if you get slammed in the face in the pallet. But yeah, that is it for my killer tips. Hopefully I was very thorough. Hopefully I didn't miss anything else. But if I did, you can always leave your comments down below of your killer tips. Again, these will help you out, guys. Just practice, practice, practice. Just remember this. A survivor's not OP. It's right now, the game where it's at right now, it's the maps. The maps are very unbalanced, and a lot of maps don't benefit from killers. Just remember, pick a killer that you'd like to play. Play the way you want to play. And if somebody's mad the way you're playing, fuck them. You know what I mean? Fuck them. I do have a video coming out for survivors talking about the most broken and most useless perks for survivors. So I have that one coming out maybe next week. But I wanted to get this video out because a lot of you guys do like my killer ideas and killer tips, and you know, it really makes me happy. So thank you guys that the people that come to the Twitch channel and say, hey, I watch your YouTube videos, and they help me out. That makes me feel great. And hopefully one of these tips help you out. Practice the moonwalk, practice the window juke, practice the drop the chase, because sometimes it's gonna happen. Thank you again, guys, for all the love and support. If you did enjoy the video, drop a like, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks again for watching. Make sure you guys follow my Twitch and Twitter. The link to that is down below. And don't forget to like this video since you're already here, you nerd. Smash that someone! Yeah, boy.